the launch of the 50 series was nothing short of a bloodbath, I think. Um, we had stories of people camping out in the early hours of the morning, sometimes days in advance. We've had stories from Japan with people climbing fences, breaking kindergarten signs. I think that's the exception rather than the rule. I imagine in most places the queues were pretty orderly, and it was basically on a first come, first served basis. So I think a lot of this is kind of hyped up, but certainly there has been a lot of anticipation for the 50 series launch, and a lot of people were keen to get their hands, particularly on the 5090, but also the 5080. As we know, the 5090 was in very short supply. In fact, it's bordering on perhaps a paper launch. A little bit more news on the 5080 being a little bit more widely available, and people who queued having the option to buy one. So I think if you were there early enough, queuing at an actual bricks and mortar retail store, there was a very good chance that you got your 5080. Online though, very much a different story, unfortunately. And as someone from Ireland, we don't have the option of going to a local retail store and buying 50 series graphics cards. It's just not a thing. We don't have the big retailers like in the UK they've got Overclockers and people like that, and Scan. We don't have that over here. We just have Curry's PC World and a few other kind of more consumer focused outlets. They're not very much PC or gaming focused. So my only option, and I'll discuss how successful I was in actually trying to buy a 50 series card. I'll come on to that in a second. My options essentially were two online outlets, both of them in Germany. From my research, those two stores were guaranteed to have some 50 series stock, and they deliver to Ireland for a reasonable price. There's no issues with duty or any import taxes or anything like that, because Germany and Ireland are both in the EU, so it's basically free trade, so there's no issues there. So the two outlets were Computer Universe and Caseking, both very large German wholesalers and sell to the public as well. So they're very big operations, and I imagine they would, out of all of the outlets across the EU, I'd imagine they'd have been among the two or three biggest suppliers of 50 series. They'd have had perhaps the largest stock. So I was reasonably optimistic I could get a 5080. I had no plans to get a 5090. That was never going to happen. As I said, paper launch, you'd have as much chance of winning the lottery as getting yourself a 5090. So I knew that. I was debating up until the last minute whether to get a 5080. What swung it for me in the end was the fact that, as someone who teaches game development and graphics and AI and all that kind of stuff, I do want to check out the new features. I understand that with the 40 series, I think you can still do a lot of the stuff like neural rendering and stuff like that, but it's a lot more performant on the 50 series, we're led to believe. I also believe that there will be things like tech demos and toolkits that will be more focused towards the Blackwell series of GPUs. And of course, I'm trying to build a YouTube channel, and do subscribe. I'd love to see you subscribing. I'm starting to get a good number of views. I'm starting to see a lot of comments on the channel. People are liking the videos. The one thing I'm missing is subscribers. I need subscribers to get monetized. So it would be great if you could just pause for a second, hit that subscribe button. It would be an absolute massive help to me. I hope you find my content useful. I'll have a lot more stuff like this, but I'll also have technology focused stuff to do with graphics cards. When there's a new interesting feature being demonstrated by, let's say, the Blackwell series, then I'm going to be there checking it out. I'll do stuff with Unreal Engine 5. I'll demonstrate what that's capable of, and how what NVIDIA type stuff is being demonstrated in that engine. So there's a lots of variety, all to do with games, graphics cards, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of my expertise. That's my interest as well. So lots more stuff like that coming. So Computer Universe, if you do a search now for 5080, nothing turns up. Okay, they don't list things that they don't have in stock. Um, so they may, for example, list. In this case, there are actually some pre-builds, but there's no delivery date. Okay, there's nothing that has a delivery date that is a 5080 or contains a 5080. So I will come back to Computer Universe because this is a very interesting story. I think you'll find this interesting. Caseking was my other option. Now, if you look at the pricing here, okay, ignoring this piece of technology here, everything else is currently out of stock. Look at the prices, okay? There's some pre-builds that are built to order. Who knows when they'll be delivered? But do look at the prices. And in particular, there's one particular one here that I'm going to search for, and I'll explain why I'm searching for this one. This is, by many people's estimation, going to be the king of the 5080s and the 5090s. It's the ROG Astral. It's the natural successor to the ROG Strix. Okay, it's the crazy expensive, over the top, waste your money GPU that people would love to have if they had money to burn. Unfortunately, most people don't have money to burn. I don't have money to burn, but I am stupid sometimes. I let my emotions get the better of me. I'm a bit of an impulse buyer, and I'll explain why I tried to buy the ROG Astral version of the 5080. Okay, I'll explain why. But look at the price. The ROG Astral OC edition, 1,889. The proper retail price is $1,599. Okay, I believe that's $1,350 MSRP plus whatever taxes in whatever territory you're in. It works out to be €1,599. Okay, it's very expensive, obviously, but it is the top of the line. It's a premium model that's geared towards overclocking. It's got massive cooling. It's got 4 fans. Okay, it's got 3 in the front and 1 in the back. That does cause some noise issues, which I can talk about another time. But we'll come to that. But there is obviously a €290 premium. Okay, maybe that's a kind word. A tax. You know, what else could you call it? This isn't Asus. Okay, this isn't an Asus tax. They already have their tax at $15.99. That's their kind of cooler and OC overhead tax that they add on. Okay, that's how they make their money, and that's why I think that there were a few ROG Astrals available actually. Surprisingly, a lot of the cheaper ones, they didn't seem to have much stock. I did notice in various forums people were getting ROG Astrals. Okay, that's quite interesting because obviously there's a higher margin. This is how they make their money. They want to push the big ones, and this is what they're going to have their stock in. So they want people to spend the extra money. Okay. My first effort at buying a GPU was on Caseking. I was there at 2 p.m. my time exactly, hitting the refresh key at exactly 2 p.m. There was no stock. Kept refreshing, no stock. Everything said out of stock. Kept refreshing. It got slower and slower as people were trying to get 5080s that I was trying to get. At one point, okay, now, in the meantime, over to Computer Universe I went, refreshed the page, site crashed instantly at 2 p.m. One little text in the corner saying couldn't connect or something like that. It was just blank page, one piece of text, site had crashed. And it stayed that way for several minutes. I kept refreshing that too every so often. I kept an eye on it. Now, one product, I can't remember which, it was basically just, you saw something available, you went for it. If you were going to buy one, you couldn't be picky. It was almost a miracle if something came into stock. I got something into my basket. It cost $1,700 and something. And there's a 3-month interest-free option where you can split the cost over 3 months. So I said, okay, I'm spending too much, but at least it's spread over 3 months. When I clicked on the option to go for that 3-month payment option, that timed out. It just kept spinning and spinning. I got nowhere. In the meantime, I went back to Computer Universe, hit the refresh key. This could be 7, 8, maybe even 10 minutes later, and you think, no chance. Everything's selling out, it's gone. I refreshed the page, and lo and behold, two 5080 models available, in stock, as it says here, and immediately available. The ROG Astral, and I think it was, I'm not sure which version it was, but there was one with a water cooler as well, a kind of a separate water cooler. I think you even plugged that separate water cooler into another PCI slot to power it. That was overkill for me. I didn't fancy taking up all that space in the PC case I have for it. I think it would have taken up too much space. I went straight for the ROG Astral. It went into my basket. I logged in through Amazon. Instant payment. And lo and behold, I got my ROG Astral for $15.99. Okay, I know that's not good price to performance. I bought a 4080 Super for another PC. I have two main PCs. I have one in the living room for my main kind of eye candy, bells and whistles, OLED TV, Dolby Atmos, all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's where my 5080 is going. I have a 4080 Super then for this PC that I'm on now at the moment, in my home office, and that's I'll do things like live streaming and video editing and other kind of productivity stuff like Unreal Engine development, all that kind of stuff at a desk. So $15.99. To be fair to Computer Universe, it's expensive, but that is the retail price for this card. So I have to give credit to Computer Universe. They only charged what they had to. They weren't profiteering. I can't say the same thing about Caseking, unfortunately. All of their cards, and I even noticed while cards were coming kind of in and out of stock, they seem to be releasing stock in phases for a bit. The cheapest model of all, the Ventus 3X. Okay, let's search for Ventus. I don't get this. I believe this was the special offer, in inverted commas, special offer from MSI. They were going to launch the Ventus model, I think, at the MSRP, which was about €1,200 or slightly less, depending on what your VAT tax rate is. And at some point when I was refreshing, the price suddenly shifted to 1,600 and something, and it was in stock. Now I clicked on it and it was immediately out of stock. I imagine someone jumped in ahead of me, and I couldn't put it in the basket. Not that I was going to buy it, I was just checking it out. That smells of dynamic pricing to me. That tells me there's an algorithm that was seeing there was extra demand for this GPU, so we're just going to jack up the price. Okay, it's cold, it's kind of pseudo AI based. It kind of smells really. It smells bad, I didn't like to see that. I don't know why this cheapest of all models is now $16.69. Okay, I don't know what's going on there, but it's not a good look, even if it's some kind of mistake. Caseking are part of a group. They've been taken over, Caseking took over Overclockers in the UK, and so there's a story here where Caseking has basically taken over Overclockers UK, as you see here. Okay, and when you go to Overclockers, it's basically the same thing. Okay, if we search for Astral, I'm even shocked to see this price, £1,800. Okay, not euro. Okay, I've been dealing with euro up to now. £1,800. Okay, get your head around that as I do a translation from, first of all, let's just say 1,600 to pounds. So it should cost, no, it'll be a little bit more than £1,338, because I think that the VAT rate is slightly different than what was quoted on that German site. I think German VAT is about 18-19%, whereas I think UK VAT might be 21%. So let's call it 1370-ish in pounds, okay? So it should be no more than about £1,370, but it's £1,800. Now there is a slight premium. I'm not getting the OC model. Okay, there's a slight clock lift with the OC model. I'm getting the straight non-OC model, but there'll functionally be no difference between them. So you could take off a handful of pounds, maybe 50 quid or something like that. But it should not be no more than 1370 or something like that. So that's there's no other way to put it other than that it's price gouging. Absolutely price gouging. One of the other places you can buy in the UK, CCL Online, same thing. They don't have the non-OC, but they have the OC model for £1,600. Again, it's at least 200, maybe £250 above what it should be. I think the recommended retail price in pounds is, maybe for the non-OC it's 1,350, maybe for the OC model it's maybe £1,400, but there's definitely a £200 premium being added on top of whatever ASUS have set as the price. I don't like seeing this. It's unfortunate because I think a lot of people in the UK, they've had very little options. In fact, I think across the world in general, I think, I really do have to pay tribute to Computer Universe. I've used them at least a couple of times in the past when I've done PC builds and I've bought graphics cards. They're always very fairly priced. I can't complain about them. And to be honest, I've had good experiences with Caseking as well. But for whatever reason, it looks to me like Caseking Overclockers Group have decided to cash in. CCL slightly less, but it's disappointing to see. So that's it. I got one, and it's amazing that I got one. Does that mean I'm delighted I got one? I'm not sure. It's an awful lot of money that I could have done without spending, but I see it as a business investment. I'm going to finish on this last little point. The reviews have been very mixed to negative on the 5080, but there is a silver lining that I mentioned in my last video. Okay, amongst all of the kind of negative stuff and the paltry sort of 9 to 13% on average gains depending on resolution, the lack of RT improvement, all quite disappointing. The one silver lining is the overclocking ability. And I've seen a few videos now. If you look at Hardware Unboxed, they reviewed I think it's the MSI Vanguard, and that showed very positive overclocking abilities to the point where you're getting even 11 or 12% above the Founders Edition model, which is, that's possibly 3% behind many of the AIB versions of the card. So in real terms, at least 8%, sometimes maybe 11 or 12% on the overclocking, which is very good because of late, over the last few generations, the best you're kind of getting out of NVIDIA is about 5%. It's way behind what you can get with, say, with an AMD cards. So it's quite positive. It means that, like for like, overclocking both 4080 Super and 5080, that extends the gap by maybe 3, 5, even 8% at times. So it moves the difference if you're doing some overclocking, even heavy overclocking. If you see here with this frame chasers, look at what's possible. This is the Founders Edition, which isn't necessarily the top of the range like the ROG Astral or the Supreme or whatever. You can see a screenshot here, 32, so 3232 megahertz. I've seen over 33. I've seen 3315 stable overclock in some cases as well. In fact, I saw 3315 with a ROG Astral, so I'm going to test that out and see, do I get the same. Now, postage with UPS from Germany can take a while. It could take up to a week for me to get my hands on that card, which is a bit of a pain, but I didn't have any other option, and it was €50 for that postage as well. So, I haven't had the best experiences with UPS in the past, always being 1 or 2 days late, but hopefully there'll be a within that sort of 4 business days on the delivery. So very positive on that front, and that's basically it. It's been a kind of a nuts, sort of a wild ride, a bit of a bloodbath. I think a lot of people disappointed. Some people got 5080s. Basically, almost no one got 5090s, and that's the bottom line. It's not much more than a paper launch. I think stock will start coming in the next couple of weeks. I think you'll start see stock trickling in. So I think if you're trying to get one, do keep checking. Go onto websites. Go to see if they have something like a notify option. So I can click on this, enter my email. When it comes into stock, I'll get an email. Now, having said that, I did that with all of these graphics cards listed, and I never got, I think I only got one email, and that was for the Ventus, that increased up to 1,600 and odd euro from just under 1,200, which was bizarre to see. But that'll do it. As I said, I'd love if you subscribed. I really want to grow this channel. I want to invest more into it. I want to buy more graphics cards. You know, I've got some great equipment, but I always want better, of course. You know, who doesn't? So that would really help me out. And give the video a thumbs up if you can. And yeah, that's it. Interesting story today. And hopefully more interesting stuff in the future, more technical stuff as well. More variety, because at this stage I'm almost sick of 5080, 5090 and all the benchmarks. I'm hoping to make a variety of different content at this stage, so a lot of stuff to do with graphics and all of that on the way. But that's enough for this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.